Remember when you first got your phone? That iPhone was lightning fast. Apps opened instantly, photos loaded immediately, everything just worked. Smooth, responsive, perfect. Now it's 18 months later, same phone, same apps, but suddenly Instagram takes 3 seconds to open. Your camera app freezes for a moment before launching. Switching between apps feels sluggish, and you're convinced Apple is doing this on purpose to make you upgrade. Everyone says it's planned obsolescence. They say tech companies deliberately slow down old phones to force you into buying new ones. And honestly, part of that is actually true. But here's what nobody tells you about why your phone really slows down. Here's the part that has nothing to do with conspiracies and everything to do with how apps have been quietly colonizing your phone's resources for months. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to understand why your phone isn't just getting slower, it's getting buried alive under layers of digital garbage that accumulate every single day you use it. Let's talk about what's actually happening on your phone right now. You downloaded Instagram 2 years ago. It was maybe 50 megabytes, reasonable size. Now that same app is over 200 megabytes. You didn't reinstall it, you didn't do anything. It just grew, quadrupled in size while sitting on your phone. And it's not just Instagram. Facebook went from 90 megabytes to 300. Spotify keeps growing. YouTube gets bigger every update. Even simple apps like your banking app or Starbucks rewards program are somehow twice the size they were when you installed them. Where did all that extra data come from? You didn't ask for it. You didn't download more content. The apps just expanded, like they're inflating inside your phone, taking up more and more space without your permission. And here's what makes this particularly frustrating. You think storage space is just about how many photos you can save, how many apps you can install, but storage affects everything. When your phone runs low on storage, performance tanks. Apps slow down, your camera struggles, everything feels laggy, but everyone tells you the solution is simple. Just delete some photos, clear your cache, free up space, and you do that. You delete hundreds of photos, you clear app caches, you uninstall apps you don't use, and you get back maybe 2 gigabytes of space, except those apps you kept, they're still bloated, still occupying way more space than they should, still growing every time they update. You're fighting a losing battle against apps that are designed to constantly expand, and this matters because you're not just running out of storage. You're running out of the breathing room your phone needs to function. Your iPhone needs empty space to operate efficiently. It uses that space for temporary files, for processing, for caching. When there's no room left, everything slows down. You think your phone is aging. You think the hardware is wearing out. But really, your phone is suffocating under the weight of apps that have been quietly getting fatter for months. There's this pattern I call the app bloat creep, and it's happening on your phone right now, whether you realize it or not. Here's how it works. When you download an app, you see the listed size in the App Store. Instagram says it's 200 megabytes. Okay, fine. You download it, but that's just the initial download. That's the skeleton of the app. Once you start using it, the app begins filling itself with data. It caches images so they load faster next time. It stores videos you watch so you don't have to re-download them. It saves your preferences, your history, your behavior patterns. All of this is stored locally on your phone. And none of it ever gets deleted automatically. The app just keeps accumulating data. 6 months later, Instagram isn't 200 megabytes anymore, it's 800 megabytes. Maybe a full gigabyte. Most of that is cache and stored data that you'll probably never look at again. Think of it like a Netflix that downloads every show you watch and then never deletes them. You watched 3 episodes of some series last month? Those are still on your phone. You scrolled past 1,000 Instagram posts last week? Pieces of those posts are still cached, taking up space, slowing everything down. This matters because every app does this. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, they're all hoarding data on your phone, building up these massive caches that serve no purpose except making the app fractionally faster when you revisit old content. But the cost is enormous. Your phone fills up with gigabytes of cached data. Your storage gets consumed by files you didn't choose to keep, and your phone's performance degrades because there's no room left for the system to operate. Think about Emma. She's got an iPhone 12, 2 years old. It was blazing fast when she got it. Now it's painfully slow. Apps crash regularly. Her camera takes forever to open. She's ready to upgrade because clearly this phone is done. But Emma checks her storage. She's using 60 of her 64 gigabytes, almost completely full. And when she looks at what's taking up space, it's weird. Her photos are only 8 gigabytes. Her apps show as maybe 30 gigabytes total. Where's the other 22 gigabytes? It's listed as other in her storage breakdown. Just other. No explanation, no way to clear it. Just a huge chunk of her phone's capacity consumed by mystery data. That other category? That's cached app data. That's temporary files that became permanent. That's the digital debris left behind by every app she's ever used. And iOS doesn't give her any way to clean it up without completely resetting her phone. Your phone's operating system is trying to manage all of this. iOS and Android both attempt to clear out unnecessary cache data when storage gets low, but they can't keep up. The apps generate cache faster than the system can clean it. It's like trying to bail out a leaking boat, you're always behind. And here's where it gets really sneaky. The apps know they're doing this. They could implement better cache management. They could automatically delete old cache data. They could give you controls to limit how much space they use, but they don't, because cached data makes their app perform better, makes images load faster, makes the user experience smoother. And that performance improvement is more valuable to them than your phone's overall health. So they prioritize their app's speed over your phone's speed. They'll gladly consume 5 gigabytes of your storage if it means their app feels snappier when you use it. Even if that storage consumption makes everything else on your phone slower. But here's where it gets even more interesting. There's another thing happening called background process accumulation. And this one is even sneakier than app bloat. When you open an app, it starts running. You see it on your screen, you interact with it, then you close it. You press the home button or swipe up, the app disappears. Except it doesn't really close. It goes into the background, and depending on the app, it might keep running, keep doing stuff, keep consuming resources even though you're not looking at it anymore. Your phone is supposed to manage this. iOS and Android both have systems that suspend background apps to save battery and resources. But apps have found ways around this. They request permissions to run in the background. They use push notifications as an excuse to wake up and do things. They piggyback on location services to stay active. So you've got dozens of apps that are technically closed but actually still running, still consuming RAM, still using processor cycles, still draining resources, and every single one makes your phone just a tiny bit slower. Think of it like leaving every light in your house on. Each individual light doesn't use that much electricity, but 50 lights running at once, your electric bill goes through the roof. Same thing with your phone. Each background app is barely noticeable, but 30 of them running simultaneously, your phone grinds to a halt. This matters because you can't easily see what's running. You can't tell which apps are draining resources in the background. Your phone just feels slow and you don't know why. Because the culprits are invisible. And here's the psychology behind why this happens. App developers are incentivized to keep their app active. The more their app runs, the more data they collect, the more notifications they can send, the more engagement they can generate. So they design their apps to be sticky, to stay running as long as possible, to find excuses to wake up in the background. It's not about making your experience better. It's about maximizing their access to your attention and data. Your phone becomes a battleground where every app is fighting for resources, fighting to stay active, fighting to consume more storage, more RAM, more processor time, and you're caught in the middle with a phone that gets slower every month. Pay attention to this. When you complain that your phone is slow, you're not imagining it, you're not being manipulated by planned obsolescence. Well, not entirely. What's actually happening is that apps have been colonizing your phone's resources for months, and now there's nothing left for the actual operating system to use. Now let's talk about something particularly frustrating called the update weight gain. This is the pattern where every app update makes the app bigger and slower. Developers release updates constantly. Bug fixes, new features, security patches, and every time you update an app, it gets bigger. Maybe just a few megabytes, maybe 50 megabytes, but it always grows, never shrinks. Why? Because developers add features without removing old ones. They pile new code on top of existing code. They support backwards compatibility with old versions. They include resources for different screen sizes and devices. All of this adds weight. And here's what makes this particularly insidious. The new features aren't always things you want. Instagram adds shopping features. Facebook adds a dating service. YouTube adds shorts. These features might not interest you at all, but they're in your app now, taking up space, consuming resources, slowing down the whole experience. Think of it like buying a car that starts as a simple sedan, but every year the manufacturer bolts on new features. A coffee maker in the back seat, a popcorn machine in the trunk, a disco ball on the roof. You didn't ask for any of this, but now your car weighs twice as much and barely runs. That's what app updates do. They add features that some users might want, but they force those features on everyone. And the accumulation of unwanted features makes apps bloated, slow, and resource hungry. This happens with operating system updates too. iOS 15 might run fine on your iPhone, but iOS 16 is designed for newer hardware. It includes features that rely on more powerful processors, more RAM, better graphics chips. When you install that update on your older phone, you're putting new software on old hardware, and the mismatch creates lag. Things that used to run smoothly now stutter. The software is asking for resources your hardware can't provide. And Apple knows this, Google knows this. They know older phones will struggle with newer software, but they push the updates anyway, because supporting old software is expensive, because they want everyone on the latest version, and because if your old phone runs poorly on new software, maybe you'll upgrade to new hardware. Here's the uncomfortable truth that the tech industry doesn't want to talk about. Your phone slowing down isn't a bug. It's a feature of the business model. App developers profit from engagement. The more features they add, the more reasons you have to use their app. They don't care if those features bloat their app size. They don't care if they slow down your phone. They care about engagement metrics. Phone manufacturers profit from upgrades. If your 3-year-old phone still runs perfectly, why would you buy a new one? But if it's slow and frustrating, suddenly that new iPhone looks pretty tempting. So both sides are incentivized to let your phone degrade. App developers by adding endless features and hoarding resources. Phone manufacturers by optimizing new software for new hardware while letting old devices struggle. It's not a conspiracy in the traditional sense. Nobody's meeting in dark rooms plotting how to sabotage your phone. But the economic incentives all point in the same direction. Toward your phone getting slower over time. Towards you eventually getting frustrated enough to upgrade. And this affects everything. The entire upgrade cycle. The mountains of e-waste from discarded phones. The constant pressure to buy new devices every 2 years. All of it is built on this foundation of phones that deliberately degrade over time. This is why tech companies settle lawsuits about this. Apple paid millions because they were caught throttling old iPhones. But throttling was just one piece. The real issue is the systemic degradation that happens through app bloat, background processes, and software updates optimized for newer hardware. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus has a 3-year-old Samsung Galaxy. It's gotten pretty slow. But Marcus understands what's happening, so instead of upgrading, he does a factory reset, wipes everything, reinstalls from scratch, only downloads the apps he actually uses, doesn't give apps unnecessary permissions, regularly clears cache and restricts background processes. After the reset, Marcus's 3-year-old phone feels brand new. Apps open instantly, everything is responsive. It's like he just bought it. Because he cleared out all the accumulated garbage, all the app bloat, all the cache data, all the background processes that were dragging it down. Now compare that to Jessica. Jessica has the same phone, bought at the same time as Marcus, but Jessica just lets it run, updates every app automatically, never clears anything, never checks what's running in the background. Jessica's phone is miserable, slow, laggy, crashes regularly, she's convinced it's dying, that the hardware is worn out, that she needs to upgrade to a new phone because this one is finished. But Jessica's phone isn't broken, it's buried. Buried under 3 years of accumulated app bloat, cache data, and background processes. The hardware is fine. The software ecosystem strangled it. Notice the difference? Marcus's phone runs great because he understands the patterns and actively fights against them. Jessica's phone is slow because she doesn't realize she's in a battle for her phone's resources. Same hardware, completely different experiences. Here's what most people don't realize. Your phone's speed isn't just about how old it is. It's about how much garbage has accumulated since it was new. App bloat isn't inevitable. Background processes aren't necessary. Cache doesn't have to consume gigabytes. These are all choices made by app developers and operating systems. Choices that prioritize their metrics over your experience. But the system is designed to make you feel helpless, to make you think slowdown is natural aging, to make you believe upgrading is the only solution, when actually, your phone could run fast indefinitely if apps were better designed and operating systems better managed resources. So here's what we've uncovered. Your phone slows down because apps constantly expand through bloat and cache accumulation. They colonize your storage and leave no room for the system to breathe. Background processes pile up invisibly, consuming resources even when apps are closed. Updates add weight without removing old features, making everything heavier and slower. And the uncomfortable truth is that this degradation serves the business model. App developers want engagement. Phone manufacturers want upgrades. And both are fine with your phone getting slower over time because it benefits them economically. The question isn't whether your phone will slow down. It will. The question is whether you'll recognize what's actually causing it. Because now you know it's not just age. It's not just hardware wearing out. It's apps actively consuming resources and manufacturers optimizing for new devices. So next time your phone feels slow, ask yourself, is my hardware actually dying, or is it just buried under months of app bloat and background processes? Because once you see that distinction, you can't unsee it. You'll know that factory reset might give you another year of performance. That managing app permissions matters. That the slowdown isn't inevitable, it's engineered.